There is absolutely zero that you have to hang your hat on. Zero science, zero proof that we are a spinning globe like we've been raised and taught in school to learn. It's all a lie. There's zero. I could talk. This video could be 1,000 hours long. I can prove that the earth is stationary and on a level plane. As far as what we know, all the measurables, 100% of the time, 100% of the time, there's never curvature. If you believe the earth is round, is a spinning globe out there, you're deceived. I've been there. I want to help. The deception is everywhere. Everything's a deception. Everything's a deception. Everything is a deception, because I would say we're in the little season. We'll get to that. There is absolutely no proof at all whatsoever, zero, that we're living on a spinning globe. It's 100% a lie. All the footage from NASA is a lie. All the pictures of outer space is a lie. There is no such thing as outer space as we know it. It's impossible. We'll talk about it. We're under the firmament and we're stationary. There is zero proof. And what's astonishing to me is that people don't even care. They just roll their eyes. You think you know, do you? Let me tell you what, you better humble yourself. You better humble yourself and stop being a little evangelist for Satan. That's really what you become. That's his purpose too. He makes you his little minion. The whole concept of the spinning globe is the stupidest, most ridiculous thing ever. And we've all been duped. I was duped for years. Had to humble myself and open my eyes. If you spend just a little bit of time, you can debunk it all day. You can go do your own science and your own testing. There's no curvature. NASA's fake. Everything's fake, and we'll prove that. There's endless proofs. This video could be 10,000 hours long just on this topic alone. But if you want to try and come prove to me that the earth is a globe, you have zero, nothing. You have nothing, zilch, zero. We're going to show you what the earth really looks like. This is a balloon right here up in the air at 115,000 feet, 35 kilometers up. And there's no curvature. And if you measure here, if you measure from end to end, from left to right, that is several dozen miles, if not well into the hundreds of miles. We should 100%, without question, be able to see the curvature if it's dozens of miles. And there's people who've done these amateur balloons. They've taken them up at a 360 degrees, and it's like this all the way around. 100% of the time. There's dozens or hundreds of people that have done it. 100% of the time, this is what you get. Now I'm going to show you that when you think you see a curvature, it's a fisheye lens, and we'll show you what that looks like. And that's what all the fake people faking their space trips show you.
The Earth should be unmistakable at this altitude. You shouldn't have to squint your eyes and engage in phony video compression tactics to see the curvature of the Earth at this altitude. But this is what the Earth actually looks like at around 115,000 feet. It's obvious there is simply no visible curvature at 115,000 feet. Where's the curvature? Compare that actual video.
They've gone up 130,000 feet. There's some that's supposedly gone up even way more. There's no curvature ever. There's never, ever curvature ever. We can do this. Hey, maybe someday we will. I've already talked to my kiddos. There's never, ever curvature.
To the phony globe, where the curvature should be clear and without question.
That's what it should look like. Okay, at the altitude of 114,000 feet, you see a little tiny bit of curvature that's clear. You would clearly see it.
But let's keep going higher. Now we're stopping at just above 128,000 feet. For this one, I want you to look at the curvature drop at 128,000 feet. This was our globe at 0 feet. And now compare that at 128,000 feet. Look at that curvature drop. Let's look at what Felix Baumgartner saw at 128,000.
Okay, you see what he's saying is that the horizon should also lower as we go up. The horizon should be lower as we rise if the earth is a globe, but it doesn't. Here he's going to explain that.
1,000 feet. This is where the capsule door opens. Of course, the horizon looks flat. We only get to see out of the door.
The point is the horizon is still right there at the same spot, eye level, in the same way when he first got into this.
But what we can analyze here is the curvature drop. This is again what it should have looked like if we lived on a globe at 0 feet and now at 128,000 feet. But this is what it looked like for Felix Baumgartner at ground level, and this is what it looked like at 128,000 feet. There is not one iota of curvature drop.
And that's 100% of the time. 100% of the time, this is what we get. 100% of the time, without question. 100% of the time. You can look at this. We could do a video just on this for hours. You also have local hotspots, oftentimes on the local sun, because it's very local. The local sun right there, and there's tons of these.
Modern day facade. I anticipate that the seemingly impossible assertions soon to be presented will be a bridge too far for most to venture. Although we will decisively expose and document the extent of deceit, fraud, manipulation, and duplicity orchestrated by this organization.
100% of the time. There's several of these we're going to be able to look at here.
Channeling our taxpayer resources into an organization perpetrating a deception of staggering proportions from its inception up to present.
Okay, now we're going to, here in a minute,
Societies,
I'll show you
including
what
the
the
Sumerians,
fisheye lens.
Egyptians,
I'll show you what the fisheye lens does here in a minute.
Babylonians, Hebrews, Greeks, Indians, Chinese, Mayans, Celts, Polynesians, Aztecs.
Here's more
from our true reality.
This is what it looks
This
like.
false depiction serves to obscure the evidence of an originating event central to our existence and fundamental in shaping an accurate understanding.
100% of the time, this is what you're always going to see. Here's a local hotspot on the sun, on the local sun.
Immense taxpayer budget to NASA. We have been led to believe that this funding is advancing.
Also, I meant to say biblically. Biblically, if you believe the Bible, the earth has a firmament post-flood. Some people believe that the firmament emptied out after the flood of Noah. I used to kind of think that, maybe. Nope. The firmament still there. David talked about it. It declares the glory of the Lord. The earth is immovable. The sun was made on day 3. The earth was created, and then other things were created. The day and the night was even created before the sun. In the Bible, the earth is firm on its foundations and does not move. It's immovable, according to the Bible. Okay, here's a local hotspot on a local sun.
The cause of space exploration, cultivating a deceptive narrative and agenda. Their purported framework, widely accepted and rarely questioned, has become the dominant narrative, effectively overshadowing any alternative interpretations that offer a vastly different view of Earth and cosmology. The many layers of misinformation that have justified allocating such an immense taxpayer budget to NASA. We have been led to believe that this funding is advancing the cause of space exploration.
Now, here's the fisheye lens that a lot of people use when they send these things up and claim it to be curvature. It's fake.
Array of retractions, contradictions, and inconsistencies involving NASA will quickly become apparent. A comprehensive examination of NASA's core credibility is crucial, as it clearly reveals the agency's expertise in crafting illusions and deceptions. This is all part of an effort to promote a completely fictitious cosmology, and even more alarmingly, to obscure the true structure of the Earth. Our journey will lead to the troubling acceptance of harsh new realities and truths, provided we can endure the unsettling information that follows. We can either reject
100% of the time. There you have it. We could show these all day long. All day long. We can watch them A to Z. You can watch these guys. There's people that have done it in 360 degrees. You can watch them, send them on up. There's tons of people, countless people have done this. There's never curvature. There's never curvature. You can watch entire videos. I've watched them 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours of that thing.
alleged Big Bang at over 607
Of the thing just floating on up. I've watched it for hours, 100% of the time. We're going to debunk it on so many different levels in so many different ways. It's not our responsibility to find out what exactly the earth is, but it's obvious that they are lying to us about everything. NASA, who gets $80 million a day in taxpayer funds or more now, all this fake nonsense, there's a lot of good reason why to do this. Why fake it? Why does that matter? The shape of the earth, all the cognitive dissonant knee-jerk responses. What do you think you know? Here's what you need to do is humble yourself, cover your mouth, and look into it. It is your folly and shame. The one that gives an answer before first hearing the matter, that is their folly and shame, and it's your pride. Have you spent any time looking into this at all? Then you just cover your mouth. 100% of the time, this is what you're going to see. And then you can still disagree. That's fine. But at least first, understand 35%, believe that the earth is flat. Think about that for a second. In spite of the fact that we're groomed as a little baby with globes and stars and spinning planets from kindergarten, and even as a little baby, it's a spell that's put over us. And humble yourself. It's really stupid too. We're going to realize how unbelievably stupid it is to believe what they tell us is happening in the universe and the earth and the sun. It's impossible. We're going to debunk it in every way, shape, and form. 100% of the time. Humble yourself and listen. Before you give any knee-jerk response, any knee-jerk thoughts, oh, you know, oh, really? Oh, you've done your research on this, have you? It's like a religion. You only believe it because it's what you've been told. And you've seen all the fake pictures and all the fake nonsense. You've been programmed to believe this. Everything's a lie. NASA especially is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's a joke. It's a clown show. The NASA clown show. We're going to see
changing constantly with the latitude.
So it's always like this. Now, this is what they tell us. Okay. They tell us that the earth is traveling, or the sun, really, the sun is traveling 6 trillion miles per year. 6 trillion miles per year. We are shooting through an infinite void of outer space. And that we are spinning. First of all, the earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. We're also rotating around the sun at 666,000 miles an hour. They're telling us truth in plain sight there, that we're literally spinning around the sun at 666,000 miles an hour. And the sun is moving nearly 1,000,000 miles an hour. And the galaxy is also moving 1,000,000 miles an hour. So we're traveling millions of miles an hour, we're told. And as what you're an evangelite, you're a little globe evangelist. That's how Satan works. He turns us in to his advocates of his lies, along with everything else. Your news, our history, it's all lies. Debunking the globe and what we're told. Debunking NASA, debunking even what we think, all the fake pictures of the sun. I'll show you what the sun actually looks like. We can actually do our own research, our own science. We can actually look at the sun and see what it is with zoomed in telescopes and cameras that block out the bright light 99.9% filters where you can actually zoom way in, and we're going to do that. We're going to see what the sun actually looks like.
This foundational belief that we all live on a spinning ball Earth makes way for our big government god to be worshipped as a false idol, then forced into paying tribute to that very system that keeps us all unknowingly brainwashed.
Did you just see that hotspot there all the time? Like you see him from a local sun. We can see it 100% of the time when we measure curvature and test the curvature models. There's thousands of people that have done it and thousands of videos. We can watch these all day long. 100% of the time, there's no curvature. 100% of the time. You think you're seeing the boat go over the horizon? You think that? Well, you can zoom them right back into perfect view and way beyond, way miles beyond, miles and miles and miles and miles and miles and miles. No curvature.
I believe from schools that intelligence, absorbing and regurgitating information presented, confirming successful programming installation. So brainwashed, trusting, and dependent upon our educational systems, parents, being products of that same system, eagerly offer up their children's minds for programming shortly after their arrival on Earth, with the message, to resist is not only futile, but insane. The population is harshly punished into submission until accepting the programming one way or the other. The opposite truth is you're left with two choices. You can be true to yourself, ask questions, find real answers, and break free from your programming, spread the truth about Earth far and wide at the risk of being ostracized.
There's that hot spot right there.
Knowing that when attempts to expose the flat Earth to programmed, controlled minds are made, they'll vehemently resist. Programmed so well to know what they think they know as undeniable truth about the Earth, moon, stars, and sun, that even if they could question their programming, they're unable to see any benefit for them to do so because they're perfectly happy in experiencing comfort and contentment while unknowingly on a path to extinction. Or, 2, you can be true to yourself, ask questions, find real answers, and break free from your programming. Seek out truth and meaning of our existence for yourself only, sharing with a select few that may be ready.
One of the arguments that they give is that when we're flying through space, we don't feel anything because we're all going in the same momentum. We all have, like when you're in a car or you're in a plane and you don't feel anything, you can walk around, go to the bathroom, but that's only if it's going straight and not accelerating or decelerating. If it turns sharply, you feel it. And if you're in a merry-go-round turning consistently, you're always going to feel it. And that's what they say. We're turning and spinning around the sun, and the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, but we feel no movement. Okay, here's real quick the fisheye lens.
Fisheye lenses compared with a few that do not. Followed by a clip of the Red Bull jump that shows a good example of movement of the camera to confirm a fisheye lens was being used.
The horizon always appears perfectly flat, 360 degrees around.
In Science Short number 1, we explore how fisheye lenses will cause straight lines to curve when they are near the edges, and how it may allow a straight line to remain straight if it is going through the center. This is an experiment anyone can do for as little as $1 in a cell phone. In this video, we will show some high-altitude balloon videos that use fisheye lenses compared with a few that do not.
Okay, so you understand the difference between the fisheye and not fisheye. 100% of the time, if you've ever seen curve, there's some kind of fisheye something happening. There's no curvature ever 100% of the time without question. You've never seen curvature. There's no curvature ever.
Then how could we perceive boats disappearing in the distance in front of us at the beach behind that very imperceivable curve of gigantic dimensions? Doesn't make sense. And that's right, we can't, no matter what Bill Nye, the science guy, says. We have very powerful zoom lenses on some consumer cameras these days. And if you zoom in, ships that had disappeared out of view simply come back into full view. They're still there. in direct line of sight.
There's
They
a
were there
zillion
all along.
of
They
these.
had not disappeared behind the supposed curve of the Earth. They were just too far for us to see with the naked eye.
In spite of what Bill
Obviously,
Nye.
our eyes are limited at unless there are hills or
So, in spite of what Bill Nye says right here,
The Earth Horizon model of science. Watch as ships sail away. They don't disappear all at once. No, first, the bottom will disappear. See, the bottom of the ship is gone. Now we can see midway up, and then the whole thing disappears. Now, ships came back. They didn't fall off a table. So people realized that the world is curved. I mean, it's a big
people realized it. So that's the number one argument that supposedly started it. This is a fake picture, and NASA admits that it's CGI fake. All of it is fake. All the pictures of satellites are fake. Everything's fake. All of it's fake. And so we can do this all day long.
our eyes are limited.
There has been a gazillion for hours and hours and hours. We can just watch videos of people bringing stuff that are miles away back into full view. And you see on that with this boat, see how the water goes way beyond it, there. The horizon goes way past it, but that was way beyond any line of sight you could see. We've got cameras, the P1000, the Nokia P1000 camera zooms in, or telescopes.
Also, don't personally experience motion.
We don't ever experience motion, ever.
On a motorway, the speed limit is 70 miles per hour.
Okay, so he shows the hypersonic. That's good. That right there was,
I'll say it again. We are supposedly moving 10 times faster than this at all times.
And not only moving, we're going in circles and spinning. That's not a straight line. That's impossible that we could be doing that. By the way, with no barrier to outer space to keep in the gases, the oxygen, the neon, all the gases, the carbon dioxide. There's no barrier according to their model. And they say that space is a vacuum. Well, that's impossible. They say gravity is holding down the gases. Really? Nope. Fake. You're deceived if you actually believe that.
And let's not even mention the whole solar system traveling in some random direction at 500,000 miles per hour. All these numbers are incomprehensible. This is supposedly what's happening to us right now. The Earth moving stupidly fast in all sorts of different and changing directions, as the journey around the sun is said to be elliptical. So we do speed up.
There's like a whipping motion that happens. Also, they say, as the sun is traveling, this is what they say. They say that as the sun is traveling, there's a whipping effect where we have to whip around to catch back up. But it's all fake. There's no way. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous when you just are honest and you think about it. No way. And we're traveling 5 to 6 trillion miles per year. And guess where all the stars are always in the same place, decade after decade, century after century. Always. The stars are always in the North Star, never moving. It's always in the same spot. And the stars rotate around it 100% of the time. And nothing ever is out of place. That star, you look at the sky one night, you take a picture of it the very next year. If you get another clear sky, take a picture of it, it'll be identical. That's impossible. Summer and winter, nighttime, we're looking at opposite directions of the universe in their model, but we're always seeing the same stars. Now the stars shift around the sky. How could we ever see Venus at nighttime? But guess what? Every night we see Venus. Well, Venus is between us and the sun. That's impossible. We would only theoretically be able to see Venus during the day, never in the night.
And slow down as well. But you'll agree, you don't feel a thing. And the water in the lakes, for instance, doesn't seem too bothered either. It's not splashing around wildly as water would normally do when moving in different directions at different speeds. I'll stick to the rotation of the Earth around its own axis, which instantly is a problem to me. Why don't we feel a thing? What does YouTube say? At the top, we find...
Okay, she explains like when we're in a car, we don't feel it.
70 miles an hour. You don't notice that you're moving. You feel stationary, sat in the seat in the car. It's only when you change your speed, i.e. you accelerate, you slam on the brakes, that you all of a sudden become aware of the fact that you were moving. This is one of the most fundamental laws of physics. If you're moving at a constant speed, you're not aware of that movement.
I'll stop her there. I could accept this argument if we were traveling at a constant speed in a straight line, like sometimes on a train, a car, or an airplane. But when your trajectory is a circle, you are constantly changing direction. I've seen it described in physics that going around in a circle is in fact a form of acceleration, precisely what she was talking about. But even without arguing about technicalities in physics terminology, in the real world, we can agree this little girl feels motion. These people feel motion while being spun, even at a constant speed. You feel motion in your car if you drive around in a circle, even without accelerating, in inverted commas. So I personally haven't found a logical answer as to why we don't feel the rotating motion of the Earth. But I'm not going to dwell on it right now. For the sake of the point I'm trying to make, it doesn't.
Okay, so it doesn't add up. He gets in. We're gonna come back to the NASA fakery. It's so we could just on the NASA bloopers, we could do hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. We're gonna look at what stars actually look like when you actually zoom in and you take the time to actually look at it instead of just believing what they're telling you, believing what they're showing you. You can zoom in on things and there's never curvature. There's never curvature. Here's the Earth curve calculator.
Told the horizon is the physical place where, from one's viewpoint, the Earth starts curving. Well, we can find that out. The maths have been done. Obviously, it's not that difficult. And so the Earth supposedly drops or curves at a rate of around 8 inches per mile squared.
So 8 inches per mile squared is the curvature calculator of the Earth. It's just simple math, simple science. And guess what? We can debunk it all day long. All day long. 1 million people have done this. Literally thousands of people have done this.
Therefore, the horizon really shouldn't be that far. There are even tools on the internet. Look, Earth curvature calculator. So if you are 6 foot tall, the horizon should be 3 miles away. That's it. It's not that far at all. So in practice, again, in the real world, we should start seeing objects fully or partially be hidden behind the curve, just a few miles away from the coast. But what is that in the distance? These are the cliffs of Dover in England as seen from France. And this here is the skyline of Chicago in the United States as seen from across Lake Michigan. So let's look at the white cliffs of Dover. This picture is clearly taken at the beach because, of course, the height of the observer matters. And we go back to our curvature calculator. We're 6 foot tall. The horizon is still 3 miles away. And Dover is 26.34 miles away. Now, remember, the horizon is only 3 miles away. The cliffs are 26 miles away. So anything at that distance should be hidden by 110 meters or about 360 feet. That's the height of a pretty decent skyscraper.
360 feet under the curvature, that should be.
Or actually, that's pretty much bang on the height of the cliffs. In other words, according to globe math, the entire cliffs should be hidden. You should not be able to see England at all from the beach in France if we live on a ball with a circumference of 24,000 miles. You should only be able to see the sea in front of you. But you can see England from France. Doesn't make sense. The skyline of Chicago. Let's listen.
Found this photo from Grandmere State Park. This is from Joshua Nowicki. And what you're seeing here is a mirage. We typically would not be able to see this from the Lake Michigan shore. We talked about this last night. Conditions are right on the lake that we're actually seeing a mirage of the Chicago skyline. Very interesting here. Here's what's happening. This is a good example of a superior mirage. So Joshua was on the Lake Michigan shore. He was looking towards the west, and Chicago's beyond the horizon. Should not be able to see it. However, with the right conditions, we have an inversion. We have cold air near the cold lake water and some relatively warmer air above it. This will bend the image of that skyline back towards the viewer. And so typically we would not be able to see this. This image would be viewable from much, much higher in the sky up in space. But instead, we're able to see it on the Lake Michigan shore. Very fascinating. And
so, having seen this on TV, some guys who lived nearby got on a boat. They testified that, depending on the weather conditions, of course, they often see the city of Chicago from the other end of the lake, 40, 50, 60 miles away. So from close to the city, they navigated back to their starting point, and obviously it got less and less clear, but the city was in full view.
And by the way, that guy confessed that it wasn't a mirage. So he came back and said, "Oh, my bad. It's not a mirage. It's actually refraction," which is also thoroughly debunked. I love the point this guy makes here.
And we were about 8 nautical miles off the coast of Chicago there. Point them at the city so we could watch it the whole way back and show everybody that it's not a mirage.
That's the proof right here. That's the proof. Absolutely.
Now,
so he films it the whole time. It's not a mirage. It was in his sight the whole time, all the way back. That video is also, you can watch the whole thing. That should be way below. I don't even know if we'd be able to see the tippy top of the Sears Tower, the Willis Tower.
Fraction, and of course the Earth isn't flat. So what that says to me is that according to the experts, you can see over the curve. Now, I don't know about you, but when I'm walking up a hill, I can't see what's on the other side. So unless you show me a science experiment where in some kind of a box you put a camera on one side of a ball and there's an object on the other side of that ball, and only using gases like oxygen and steam or whatever, and maybe you introduce magnetism or I don't know, but somehow the object on the other side shows up in full view of the camera, unless you show me that, in my mind, for now, I will keep atmospheric refraction in the theory section as opposed to the fact section. I'm not saying there are no optical phenomena at all in our atmosphere, visible close to the surface. Again, these kinds of upside down mirror images or this kind of compression of the surface, or here, this man has no feet, that car has no tires. This has obviously nothing to do with the curvature of the Earth. Here you see two images taken from the same spot, but on different days. What is close to the surface in the distance will often distort in some way or other. while naturally, the more elevated you are, the more objects you will see in the distance. Look at this here. The camera is placed exactly in line with the tabletop. But as the coin moves away, the bottom gets blurry. He does it several times, same with a larger circle. And this would possibly explain the perception of a boat disappearing hull first. Also, some pictures just show boats hidden by big waves. And in the images I found from France looking at Dover, the top one is clearly taken from an elevation. If you compare them, you can see the same thing as with the man with no feet. As in, the base of the cliffs seem to merge with the sea. The top picture is not so close to the surface, and so more of what is in the distance is clear. Like on this road, the higher you go, the clearer the objects in the distance. So there's a lot to be said about how our perception works.
100% of the time, there's tons of people that have done this.
We measure these things. Unsurprisingly, there are people who take great offense when people claim the Earth isn't the globe. And there are entire websites dedicated to ridiculing them. It really often gets personal. There's a lot of name calling. So here I read, the skyline of Toronto, this is a comparable example to the Chicago one, is often cited by flat earthers, there's the name calling, because it can be seen from miles away in Lake Ontario. The fact that half the city is underwater is apparently lost on them. And there's a little animation. I'll zoom in on it. At first sight, it looks convincing, but it's disingenuous. To me, this is about optics, as I said. But so, if half of the city is below the horizon...
And there's several people that have zoomed into that one also. You can see it right at the foundation. Here's another awesome example right here.
And dozens of videos you can watch of people doing experiments whereby the horizon clearly is much, much, much further than 3 miles, and or where objects are clearly visible when they should be completely hidden.
The wind turbines are massive structures. Each of the 3 blades are 55 meters long. To the middle turbine section, it's 80 meters. Overall, they are 140 meters in height. The base of the turbines and the loading platforms are the observation's reference points. The base is 5 meters in diameter. The high tide marks on the bases are easy to distinguish on the yellow background. They come up from the sea about 2.5 meters. The loading platform is approximately 12.5 meters from its base to the sea below. If we live on a ball with a radius of 6,371 kilometers, or 3,959 miles, at Dr. John's planned observation height above the sea of 3.5 feet, just over 1 meter, the horizon will be 2.3 miles away, 3.7 kilometers. Turbine 1. At a distance of 8.4 miles, 13.5 kilometers, the hidden height from the sea should be 24 feet, 7.6 meters. 5, 48 feet, 14.7 meters.
That's 10.8 miles away. That should be 48 feet. We should have 48 feet of hidden curvature. But guess what? We're going to be able to see the bases of these turbines on all of them. No curvature, 0. And it's always the case. A zillion people have done this. It's always the case.
And turbine 6 will be hidden by 53 feet, just over 16 meters. The loading platforms of turbines 5 and 6 should not be visible from Dr. John's position. The tide marks on all 6 turbines will all be obscured by the horizon. The camera tripod is placed into position. The center of the camera lens will be 3.5 foot, just over 1 meter from sea level. To his rear, the beach houses and Worthing Sailing Club are about 300 meters away. Conditions are better than expected. The sun is low in the sky, it sets in 40 minutes. He has hardly any wind at his back. All the wind farm is visible with the naked eye.
He's bringing it right into view, all the way to their base. All of it is in view and way beyond. Lots of people have done this. The horizon goes way back there beyond. Did you see the boat that was behind it? It's way back there. The horizon is way back there. You shouldn't be able to see the, for sure,
You
none of the black,
understand
let
what you
alone the
see,
yellow.
right?
This new proof of the flat Earth comes from Grota 1 from a frozen lake in Manitoba, Canada.
This is like one of my favorite ones. This guy, tons of people have done stuff like this. This is just a slam dunk.
I strongly encourage everyone to head over to his channel and subscribe to show your support, because he obviously went to a lot of effort for truth here. For this curvature test, Grota 1 essentially set 4 lights at around 1 foot above the water and ice. He set up his camera at about 8 miles away from the furthest light and 5 miles away from the closest light. The lights were spread out at about 1 mile apart. At each location, Grota 1 drilled down to the water just to confirm that he wasn't on some irregular ice formation, and to also ensure that his test was on a level surface. The furthest light from the camera was the red light at 8 miles from the camera. The blue light was at about 7 miles, the yellow was at 6 miles, and the orange light was the closest one at 5 miles away from the camera. You should definitely watch his video where he goes into much more detail, but here he is sitting in his truck at a distance of 8 miles from the red light. Notice that the lights are all on the same flat plane. There is no earth bulge and no physical globe horizon. Next, Grota 1 lowered his camera to only 12 7/8 inches above the surface. At that small
That camera is about 13 inches off the ground, and you still see all the lights.
elevation, the globe horizon would have to be closer than 1.27 miles, and the furthest light, the red one, should have been 29 feet below the horizon. That's taking into account the 1 foot height of the light.
So 29 feet under the horizon, that red light should have been, but you can see it. There's guys that have done that where it's 20 miles away, 12 inches off the ground, and you still see it 20 miles away. Impossible on the globe. It's impossible on the globe. Case closed, argument over. Humble yourself. That should at least be enough to wake you up, what we've shown, but we've barely scratched the surface.
Notice how the lights are all on the same flat plane. There's absolutely no supposed bulge here. And if there is no curvature on that frozen lake, then there is no Earth curvature anywhere. Look at the red light. That light should be 29 feet below the horizon.
Just to hammer this home, here's another one.
This is the #1 globe killer. Hopefully by now, all of you have seen this video by BMLSB69. His observer height is only 1 foot. Now that first platform is 6.2 miles away, and platform habitat is 9.4 miles away, with the horizon far in the distance beyond that. Now I'm going to let you just sit there and take this in, because this is the absolute #1 globe killer. Modus tollens states, if P, then Q, not Q, therefore not P. If P, we live on a globe of radius 3959 miles, then Q, every horizon distance measurement cannot be more than 1.23 miles times the square root of the observer height in feet. Not Q, the geometric horizon is far greater than 2.73 miles for 5 foot. Therefore, not P. The Earth is not a globe.
It's obvious, no? If you had no emotional attachment to the globe, you would agree that this is obvious. maybe you should do the experiments for yourself. And for the sake of completeness, back to Chicago. These guys had the city in their line of sight all the way from being close to the city to being 40 miles away or more. As we've seen, there is no curvature to be measured anywhere. So the official line is that the image nearby, of course, is real. Whereas the image on the other side is an image that reflected on the atmosphere somehow and got re-inverted to look like the real thing in its right place. So if they had the city in view the whole time, did some kind of seamless fade in, fade out effect happen in the sky to make it seem like they had the buildings in view, whereas in fact they didn't? At what point were they seeing something real? And at what point did it become a mirage? It's nonsense, but it's what you'd have to believe.
I'll give you an example. We'll use Ranty and one of his images. So he has a picture of a clock tower about 20 miles at Barrow-in-Furness, and it's just a picture of a clock. Now, as a flat earther, I look at this picture and say, clock at 20 miles. That's the end of my explanation. As a flat earther, I can make that statement. I'll say it again. Clock at 20 miles. Now, if you're a fundamentalist religious zealot, then that's not a clock at 20 miles. That would be a slightly looming, non-standard refraction hyena holographic projection of a clock from behind the reified edge of a sphere based on an R value and a begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking curve calculator to turn a clock which seems to be there into a clock which is not actually there. That's what you have to assert if you're a globehead. So it's not a clock, it's a holographic projection of a clock from behind the reified edge of an Earth curve based on a begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking curve calculator. As opposed to me, that's a globehead explanation. I say clock, 20 miles.
You're the man, Nath. You are the man. I love the way it's the way you taste, the way you say it.
So I could leave it at that. I shouldn't be making a feature-length presentation on the shape of the Earth. We can see too far. End of conversation. Goodbye. But I've started.
That's right.
So let me finish this. No one factors in the curve, let alone the speed of the moving Earth. Airplane pilots, construction workers, engineers.
Airplane pilots, they don't factor in the curvature of the Earth. Snipers do not factor in the curvature of the Earth. All of it's debunked. There's a zillion airline pilot manuals. It's always based off a flat, non-rotating Earth. All the flight patterns, that's another fun rabbit hole to go down. All the flight patterns, they follow a flat, circular Earth, not a globe.
The curve is a theoretical concept. Nothing about curvature makes sense. Moving on. 2. Not feeling the spin doesn't make any sense. I said it before. Again, when you're watching a sunset, for instance, you're supposedly falling backwards at nearly 1,000 miles per hour. In the real world, when you spin, you feel it. You feel the direction in which you're spinning. These people feel pushed forward and to the left. If they turned around in their seat, they would feel pushed backwards and to the right. And water, for instance, doesn't stay still when it's spinning. It's not like in those quiet lakes. That's all I'm going to say on that. I can't find an explanation as to why we're not feeling anything. Logically, we should. It doesn't make sense. 3. The atmosphere spinning makes no sense. So, how fast the Earth is spinning, I said earlier that pilots don't consider curvature. Their instruments just tell them whether they are level or not. But no pilot ever considers the speed of the Earth either. Landing in Europe would be completely different from landing at the equator or from landing closer to the North or South Poles, where the Earth is supposedly rotating quite slowly. And if you think of an actual North north-south flight, whatever, say from Norway to Congo, as I'm saying, the speed on the ground is massively different between departure and destination. So as the plane flies, how does the plane speed up or slow down sideways? And that's what I mean. A spinning atmosphere makes no sense. Of course, there is wind. Sometimes the air moves in all possible directions. But if there is no wind that day, smoke just goes straight up. A drone can go straight up unless you maneuver it left or right. So the atmosphere must be keeping up with the Earth. I guess if it wasn't, we'd have 1,000 miles per hour winds.
So the argument is that the atmosphere keeping up with the speed of the Earth, the rotation, but that is also impossible.
But so for
these points of air to make.
Okay, you see this? At point A is way up high. The edge of the atmosphere is A. And then space, so-called fake space, is above it. And then B, 6 miles up, he has written there. B is 6 miles up. And then C is the land. What they have to argue is that A, the atmosphere is keeping up with the spinning of the Earth, which means it's spinning way faster up high if you're on the equator, because it's way higher, which means it has to spin way faster. And again, there's nothing contained. There's no actual container. What they say, you have like the ozone layers and stuff, but we flew right through it supposedly and went to the moon. So there's no actual container containing the gases in a vacuum of space. That's also impossible. There's no container. And so somehow the atmosphere is spinning much, much faster up there, is also keeping up with the spinning of the Earth. It's impossible.
One complete revolution and come back to the same spot in 24 hours, right? Because the atmosphere moves with the Earth. The atmosphere never gets left behind. So right off the bat, since we know the velocity is equal to distance divided by time, we can say that VA, the velocity of point A, is greater than the velocity of point B, which is greater than the velocity of point C. Because point A has a longer distance to travel in 24 hours than point B, and point B has a longer distance than C, because the circumference of their path is greater, right? The theory is that the Earth is rotating about its axis because of the Big Bang. When you really think about it, there was this Big Bang, everything exploded out into space, planetary systems formed, galaxies, all that stuff formed, and this rotation is what is left over from that explosion. That's leftover energy from that explosion of the creation, which created everything, right? And so everything's just been moving for billions of years, and there's no friction between space and the atmosphere, right? Because there's nothing in space. So an object in motion stays in motion unless acted upon by an outside force, right? But that's kind of strange when you think about that air at higher elevations has to be moving faster to keep up with the ground below it, because air moves up and down, right? Hot air rises, as we know, and cool air sinks, right? So how does the air speed up? When it's heated, it rises, but then it has to start moving faster. Now, even if it's only a little bit faster, the difference in these velocities, if you calculate them, isn't much, but they do have to be greater, or they will start to get left behind. How that is explained, I don't know. I haven't really found anything to talk about how the air has to be moving faster.
And neither have I. And this is without considering that at the poles, or near the poles, the air particles supposedly don't move at all. So there's not only differences between the atmosphere close to the Earth and high above, but there are also differences between north and south. Theories of a spinning Earth and therefore a spinning atmosphere don't match reality, they don't work, they don't make sense.
It's impossible.
4. A pressurized system next to an unpressurized system without a barrier makes no sense. There is supposedly no physical barrier between our atmosphere and the supposed infinite vacuum of space above or around it. Spaceships and rockets fly in and out of our atmosphere all the time, right? So how is it that our tiny little atmosphere doesn't just get sucked out and everything else equalizes?
Into the vacuum of
Because
space.
in the real world, if you have a vacuum in one place and some kind of gas in another place, and you remove the barrier, that's precisely what happens. It equalizes. Gas next to a vacuum without a barrier makes no sense. And there's a chance I know what you're going to say, and I will address the theory of gravity soon enough. 5.
Fake gravity. Their argument is that gravity holds it all down. Nope. No way.
Star trails make no sense. What we observe at night is that the North Star, Polaris, doesn't move, and the other stars circle around it.
These are real time-lapsed photography, time-lapsed photos. There's a zillion of them out there. And guess what? The stars never cross paths. They're always in the same place. And we're supposedly traveling 5 or 6 trillion miles per year, following the sun through a vast, infinite outer space. Nope. Nope. This is proof. Astronomy proof. The Earth is stationary and not moving, and neither is the North Star.
These are all long exposure camera shots. It's beautiful. But everything in the universe is supposed to be moving in all directions at insane speeds. And remember, the universe is supposed to be expanding. So everything is supposed to be moving away from each other.
NASA and modern astronomy say Polaris, the North Pole star, is somewhere between 323 and 434 light years, or about 2 quadrillion miles away from us. Firstly, note that is between 1.9 quadrillion to 2.6 quadrillion miles, making a difference of over 600 trillion miles. If modern astronomy cannot even agree on the distance to stars within hundreds of trillions of miles, perhaps their science is flawed and their theory needs re-examining.
And so just think about that for a second also. Seeing stars with our naked eye that are hundreds of trillions of miles away, impossible. We wouldn't even be able to see the sun at, I don't know if we'd even be able to see it at 50,000 miles away, 20,000 miles away, 10,000 miles away. If it was in full view, that light goes out. We can't see it that far, let alone millions and millions of miles away. Like the moon, they say it's 240,000 miles away. No way. Impossible. We can zoom right in on it. Imagine if you could zoom right in. I'm in south of St. Louis. Imagine if I could zoom right on in to New York. It's like, I don't know, the way the crow flies, maybe 1,000 miles away or 1,500 miles away. I think 1,200 miles away, maybe to New York or less. There's no way you can zoom in that far. Just 1,000 miles away. But supposedly I can get the P1000, Nokia P1000 camera and zoom right in on a little crater that's supposedly 20, 30, 40 miles wide. I can zoom way inside that crater that's like 40 miles wide and it's 240,000 miles away. Nope.
However, even granting them their obscurely distant stars, Helios...
Think about this for a second. The sun, that NASA's given us fake footage of views from Neptune. Views from Neptune where they see the sun. And it's not that much smaller, half the size or a third of the size as the way Earth sees it, as the way we see the sun. Like when we see a sunset and then they show a Neptune sunset with their fake CGI photos, but they say it's real. The satellite spinning out there, the Hubble or whatever, is way out there at Neptune, and we got a picture of the sun from Neptune. There's no way. It's like hundreds of millions of miles away. And then from Neptune, if you traveled another 7,000 times further away, so 7,000 times further away, if you were to travel 7,000 times further away from Neptune, you're still just one light month away. That's just one light month. But they're saying there's stars that are millions of light years away that we can see. You know, like I think they say Polaris is 400 light years away. So that one's closer, but still 400 light years away. That is like quintillions of miles away. And they're saying we can see it in the sky with our naked eye. Nope, it's fake.
Eccentric astronomers cannot adequately explain how Polaris manages to always remain perfectly aligned straight above the North Pole.
So, for one, the North Star never moves. And for two, take a picture of the sky today and take a picture in 1 year's time, and everything will be in the exact same place, year after year after year. It's all cyclical, and it never deviates from these patterns. How can we even have star constellations if everything moves in all directions all of the time? Another thing, seeing the same stars during the summer as during the winter also doesn't make sense. Just look at this image for a while. In summer, this is your night sky. On the other side of the sun, of course. In winter, you look the other way at night. You should not be able to see the same stars at all 6 months apart. But you do. The stars and their movement make no sense in the heliocentric model. 6. Seasons make no sense. Do you know how seasons are set to work? Officially, let's look at NASA again, it's because the north-south axis of the Earth is a little bit tilted in relation to the center of the entire solar system. The sunlight from 90 million miles away hits the Earth at a slightly different angle at different times of the year, and that's what can make the difference in places of a nice warm daily average of 25 degrees Celsius during the day in summer and a freezing minus 25 degrees in the winter. Right. That doesn't make sense to me. At such an insane distance, I don't see how such a...
Look at that. So they're saying because the axis, like that's the size difference of what they say. We wouldn't have such a drastic difference like here in Missouri. You wouldn't have such a drastic difference of summer versus winter. If the sun was really that big and the Earth was really that big, there's no way.
Small difference in angle can have any influence at all. So the Earth is said to move in an elliptical course around the sun, but it seems like the distance to the sun is completely irrelevant. The sun radiates heat. In the real world, the closer you are to a radiant heat source, the warmer it is. That's obvious, no? Seasons make no sense the way they're explained to us. 7. The dark side of the moon makes no sense.
0 sense. We always see the same side of the moon, always. And they say that's a amazing coincidence that we only ever always see the same exact side of the moon. They say the moon is rotating at a speed in which the Earth is rotating so that we only ever see the face of the moon. Like that side of the moon. We never, ever, ever see the other side of the moon. Right. It's a cosmic miracle.
This is supposedly what is happening.
When looking at the moon from Earth, why do we only see one side? Have humanity visited the far side? And if so, how does it compare with the near side? The Earth completes one orbit of the Sun every 365 days, a year, and one rotation around its axis every 24 hours, a day. The Moon completes one revolution of its axis and one orbit of the Earth every 27.3 days. So even though the Moon is in a constant state of rotation, it always presents the same side to Earth. This phenomenon, known as synchronous rotation, ensuring that Earth always faces the near side of the Moon.
Now, Of course, if the speeds of objects were really due to random occurrences, if the moon is really a rock that smashed and got round and smooth through millions of years of rotation in a frictionless environment, well, there's still infinitely more chance of winning the lottery than the speed of the rotation of the moon to precisely be so that we never see the other side.
You see how they hide God through all this? They're hiding God with total ridiculous, phony BS lies. You see this? This is how they hide God, with all this nonsensical science. Historically, they've hidden the millennial reign of Jesus, which we could talk about that for 1,000 hours. There's lots of evidence there because we're in the little season. That's why there's this lie. There's this big bang that happened billions and billions and billions of years ago. Not 13.1 billion years ago. It's 13.8 billion years ago. And we know this. We know that. And then we shot out and we're flying out almost at light speed through outer space. And we're this insignificant little tiny speck. Our whole entire galaxy is like an infinite, is like an insignificant speck, even though it's got trillions or billions of stars, because there's trillions of galaxies also flying out through infinite outer space, is what they say. It's all lies. And so we're just this insignificant speck flying out with this complete nonsense science that we've all been raised and indoctrinated with our whole life. Total nonsense. Nope. No way. It hides God. It hides the firmament. It hides that God created all things. It's Satan's deception. It's everything is a deception. That's the age we live in. Wake up. Humble yourself. Cover your mouth. Don't you think you should bother yourself enough to look into some of this? It's astonishing to me how people shrug their shoulders and roll their eyes, and they're like, whatever, it doesn't matter. I still have to go to work, blah, blah, blah. Well, hello, wait, hang on. Everything's a lie. Everything's a deception. Like, do you want it? Do you love the truth or not?
But fine. I guess just like in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, nothing is impossible. It's just highly improbable. And there is some explanation that millions of years ago, it was rotating all over the place, but the Earth's gravity, there we go again, somehow stabilized it. Again, I'll get to gravity, okay? There is a problem, though, in the world of physics, namely the three-body problem, which also applies to the Sun, Earth, and Moon.
Astrophysicists refer to this astonishing property of gravitational systems as the n-body problem. While we have equations that can completely predict the motions of two gravitating masses, our analytical tools fall short when faced with more populated systems. It's actually impossible to write down all the terms of a general formula that can exactly describe the motion of three or more gravitating objects. Why? The issue lies in how many unknown variables an n-body system.
In this age of supercomputers, we can't model the movements of three objects that attract each other through gravity. Here's that word again.
Just three objects, let alone infinite trillions of objects. Just three objects. The gravitational pull gets all crazy with just three objects. They go in chaos 100% of the time. You can test it, and it never, ever, one time will ever repeat the same motion. So you have three objects in play that have gravitational pull, and you watch how they interact according to their model, and it never, ever repeats the same pattern. It's impossible to have our solar system the way it is.
Could it possibly be that it can't be modeled because it just doesn't add up?
In the heliocentric model of the cosmos, the moon revolves around the Earth 13 times per year, traveling at 2,288 miles per hour, while the Earth revolves around the Sun once per year, traveling at 67,000 miles per hour. The following model and animation illustrate how this is supposed to occur. As you can see, since the moon is revolving around the Earth, which itself is revolving around the Sun. In order to maintain its regular orbit, the Moon would have to be constantly and drastically changing its speed in ways completely unaccounted for by the model. In the outer part of its orbit, the Moon would have to speed up 67,000 miles per hour, in addition to its regular speed of 2,288 miles per hour, just to keep up with the Earth. So the Moon would then be traveling at 69,288 miles per hour when it reached the front of the Earth. At this point, since the Moon is allegedly 240,000 miles away from the Earth would catch up in just 4 hours, so the Moon must continue traveling 67,000 miles per hour along Earth's trajectory, while simultaneously continuing its now perpendicular 2,288 mile per hour second trajectory. Then, as it turns to reach the inner part of its orbit, the Moon must now slow back down to its original speed, allowing the Earth to pass by. Lastly, as it passes behind the Earth, the Moon must once again quickly accelerate back up to nearly 70,000 miles per hour before getting left in the dust.
My point is that it makes no sense how this ball can spin, speed up, slow down, and only ever face the same way in relation to us. 8. Moonlight makes no sense. This is another big one in my view. Look at it. Look at it. The real voyage of discovery consists not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes. You've seen that moon ever since you were little. Take it in with new eyes.
He makes lots of good points here about the moon. We could make a 5-hour long video just on the moon. A big part is that when it's more crescent, tons of zillions of people, you can see the stars through the moon. The moon is transparent. You can see stars right through the moon. When it's crescent, often there's tons. I mean, we could make this video infinitely long. We could do this for days. The stars, this is Mars with the P900.
World into believing what is nothing but an elaborate piece of science fiction. As you can clearly see for yourself with a bit of research, a telescope or high-zoom camera, and an open, discerning mind actually honestly admitting to yourself what is and what isn't a CGI, computer-generated image, it is obvious that the light in the sky known as Mars is not some science fiction desert planet millions of miles away. The CGI images NASA shows of a spherical world are clearly and admittedly not photographs, and look nothing like Mars when seen through a telescope. Meanwhile, the actual photographs NASA claims are coming from this completely other world
Look, supposedly one side is Mars. Well, we keep finding their so-called Mars, identical landscapes here with the same rocks.
Exactly like they are coming from Devon Island, Canada, with a red tint added in post-processing.
Oh, how about that? Identical rocks. See the rock, identical rocks all the way around, all over. Their Mars footage is fake, people. It's fake. And all the stars, all the images, they're fake. They're all admittedly, see, they can't take a photo and show us what they're seeing. They give us fake CGI 100% of the time. That also includes the satellites and the space station. It's all fake.
There's nothing being shown in NASA's photographs of Mars that cannot easily be faked on Earth. And given the lack of skepticism or scrutiny from the gullible masses, they barely have to fake any evidence too. Just give them a computer screen of a CGI parachute with a CGI rover landing on a CGI Mars, and film a bunch of compartmentalized NASA 20-something employees straight out of space camp getting giddy and high-fiving each other. And that is literally all it takes. The unquestioning masses now thoroughly believe NASA has landed their fifth remote control car tens of millions of miles away and are receiving photographs from it through the internet. Yes, that's right. How do you think NASA sends and receives all data to and from this remote control car? They apparently have internet technology so strong and fast that they can operate a remote control vehicle from tens of millions of miles away. Do we, the public,
We're somehow dozens of millions of miles away operating this rover with a remote control. And we're just watching it like, whoa, we're on Mars. Check it out. Like, hello? Like, really? You really believe that? Like, just stop and think like, whoa, I believe this. It's theater. People, it's theater. Listen, in 1969, President Nixon from the White House, primetime television, called him up right there on the moon. In 1969, he picked up the phone and he called them, and Neil Armstrong or Buzz Aldrin, they answered right away. They took the phone call in 1969. Listen to that for a second. Just think, it's theater. It's theater. It's all theater. While we celebrated the amazing moon missions. Wow.
have any independent evidence whatsoever that such technology actually exists? Of course not, and it isn't necessary. Again, because the science fiction indoctrinated masses are so bedazzled by their pseudoscientific priests at NASA that they don't require things like proof or evidence.
Nothing flies or floats or whatever at 6.66 miles per second. All talk of space is nonsense, trickery, theory, cartoons, propaganda. It's hard to put into words what's actually going on. And I know it's hard to accept because all of your life you've believed what you've been told from when you were a child. Next to children's books and cartoons and toys about space and movies, etc., next to all that, this kind of rubbish is in the news all the time. Most people just don't pay attention to it. When is the last time you've had an interesting conversation with a friend about the technicalities involved in NASA missions? It doesn't happen. People don't care. And rightly so. It's a kind of background propaganda. But I digress. It takes a bit of time to adjust, but if you digest this, think about it, do some research, trust your own senses instead of what some outer authority tells you, you will unequivocally agree with the fact I wanted to establish and demonstrate here, which was that so-called space agencies lie and deceive. We can't personally observe any curvature. Even from super high altitude balloons, the horizon is horizontal. Now, again, if you look for images of amateur high altitude balloons, you will see lots of pictures of a curved Earth. But remember, that's the lens. Have a look at this image here, for instance. Well, a bit further, in a similar shot, the Earth is actually concave instead of convex because of the lens. Amazing. So, we supposedly can't observe any curvature because the Earth is just too vast. But mathematically, this doesn't add up. As you will see, you should be able to see a curve. But a body of water is always level. Now, supposedly, on the ball Earth, level water actually means curved water, bendy water. So let's look out for this bendy water. Can we experience, can we measure, can we test the curve? If visibility was not an issue, as in it's a particularly clear day, here on this ball Earth, of exactly 24,859.734 miles circumference, at what point in the distance would an object start disappearing behind the curve?
So that is such a slam dunk. We looked at a lot of that. Okay, let's look at all the fake NASA, not all, just some of the fake, phony NASA bloopers. Fake, phony, it's all fake.
Look at the moon landings in the 1960s and 1970s. So half a century ago now. And yeah,
you see that? You see how fake that is? Look at the shadows. It's so crazy. There's tons of these. There's tons of problems with the shadows and a lot of the different. When we analyze all their footage and stuff, tons of problems everywhere.
They were staged. We didn't play golf on the moon. It's ridiculous. And finally, we'll look at what is understood as space exploration ever since up to the present day is not...
Believe me, he's not even that thorough. I can do this for 4 hours, just the NASA bloopers.
A real photo. Neither is this, or any of these that NASA released in the last few years. Some really don't make sense either. If this is the globe, and nearly half of it is covered by North America, then where's the rest of the land? The Eurasian continent, Africa, and Australia, are they all meant to take up as much space as North America? And the images NASA releases tend to vary quite a bit from one to the next. Even the size of continents are not always consistent. Now, listen to this.
In 2002,
this is NASA explaining that the pictures are CGI. They just tell us. So shouldn't we have millions and millions of photos of Earth? Just go out there with your satellites and stuff and show us what you see. Take a picture of it. But they can't. They can't because it's fake. Listen, it's fake. All these photos, they admit it, are fake. President Nixon called him up on primetime TV. And as the whole world watched, he was talking to people on the moon on primetime television. Think about that for a second. All the images, NASA admits it, they're all fake. Think about that for a second. All the satellite images, they're all fake. All the space station images, it's all fake. Proven that we could do 50, 100 hours worth of content just on all the fakeness of NASA.
Blue Marble 2.0. NASA's Rob Simon made this. And it had wide appeal too. For example, it ended up as the default background on the iPhone.
I didn't even know until I bought an iPhone and turned it on and kind of did a little happy dance.
Simon's job is...
It's primarily taking data and making pictures out of it.
That's what this is. A composite of data sets from several different instruments translated into a picture.
To us, the really cool thing was the data set. Up until that point, there was no realistic color map of the globe anywhere.
So the land layer here comes from
the Moderate Resolution Imaging Spectroradiometer aboard Terra.
And the tricky part here was the weather.
So we actually had to take clouds out.
They stashed the clouds for later, went onto the ocean. That came from an instrument that measures phytoplankton in the sea.
Where it was low, I colored it dark blue because they're low mostly in mid-oceans. And then where it's a little bit higher, it was like a little bit...
It came from an instrument that measures phytoplankton. Oh, really?
Brighter green.
Then add the clouds back in.
There's a small problem with it because there's a very slight gap in between each orbit.
So some of those are painted on.
It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
Then
There was another layer to sort of simulate the atmosphere.
and then there's this little bright spot.
It's called the specular highlight. So it's
So wait, you're telling me you can't just take a picture? It has to be photoshopped. Oh, really? This is a fake picture. All the pictures are fake. It's all fake. Like you're telling me that the satellites that go way up there can't at least get some genuine, authentic photos of the curvature of the earth.
So some of those are painted on.
Okay.
It is photoshopped.
Like, can't we at least get that part, a photo of that? Can we do that? But no, they can't. This is fake. That's not a real photo right there. It's fake.
But it's has to be.
Then
There was another layer to sort of simulate the atmosphere.
and then there's this little bright spot.
It's called the specular highlight. So it's the reflection of sunlight off of water.
Those are the pieces, but you can't just slap them all together.
It just didn't look realistic. It looks kind of flat, or the clouds are sort of too see-through. So I just hit Command Z a lot.
There's artistry to creating the world.
What I imagine it to be.
There's artistry to creating the world. Get out of here. Get out of here. You're going to believe these people. Listen, you're telling me you're going to believe this nonsense. No way, Jose. They're liars. They're all liars. Artistry in creating the world. Get out of here. No. Liars. Just like their father, the devil. They're liars and they know it. And so listen, when you're promoting the globe as a globe evangelist, literally you're teaming up with Satan and his lies. Just think about that for a second. On how stupid and ridiculous this is. This is where every mouth will be shut on the day of judgment. Because just think of, we are deceived in so many ways. The level of deception runs so deep and so thick in our age. There's countless things that I'm sure I'm still totally deceived on. That's why this is what the Holy Spirit says. The Spirit says, humble yourself like a child, cover your mouth and cry out to him. Because everything you think you know is a lie. Even church history, even the history of, let's say, the Southern Baptist Church or the Pentecostal Church. It's all lies. The denominations in our age of 45,000 denominations, in our age of church splits, it's all lies. Humble yourself and cry out to Jesus. Because the greatest deception, even greater deception than this, is that the new covenant, just did a video on it. My last video, the new covenant is veiled. That's the greatest deception. The gospel itself is veiled. In the same way this deception is real, the exact same cognitive dissonance happens to the Little Season community about just the basic 101 intimacy with the Father, being filled with the Holy Spirit, being born again, where you no longer live, but Christ lives in you. It's veiled. And the power of God is absent in our age.
Unfortunately, I'm not an astronaut. I've never been to space, but I've looked at these images over and over again, trying to sort of get the essence of it. It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
So, strangely, officially, there are only a couple of real photos from the whole Earth. A handful from the 60s, and also...
And these are fake. I'll put some of these videos in the description below if you want to watch the whole thing. This picture is also fake, and it's proven absolutely fake. It's all fake. All of these are fake. This is what we get in our fake CGI images of outer space. It's all fake.
Moving on to, I hate to say it, the clear deception of the moon missions. Picking up from what I just talked about, this image is officially one of the few real shots of the entire Earth. It's a still from a camera aboard one of the spaceships about how
it's fake. The moon missions were fake. That one's easy to just shred to pieces. The moon missions, it's all fake.
And a third confidential party, prompting the astronauts with what to say, when to speak, and how to effectively manipulate the camera to achieve the desired misleading effect. Again, the illusion they are attempting to create is the Earth at a distance to demonstrate their far journey from it. Understand, too, that only about 20 seconds of this...
So there's so much we can get into here. How fake everything is. How they actually had this footage of how they shot that. And it gets completely debunked that that's a real photo. Completely 100% debunked. And then you look at the shadows. Okay, you look at the spacecraft itself.
Barely used auxiliary NASA archival.
So you see the different angles of the shadows. Maybe we'll zoom into the spaceship itself. It's totally ridiculous. They put it right in our face on how ridiculously fake that spaceship is. That it is a tin can, 100%, absolutely, unequivocally, without question, it's fake.
Just have a look and just ask yourself whether this looks like real footage taken in 1969 from a camera attached to some spacecraft close to our rotating moon that has just one man steering it, and the little metal spacecraft you see is about to dock with it, fly really, really close to it until it's close enough that some mechanical arm or something can grab it. And then the two passengers in the spacecraft will, operate levers to create a vacuum between the two so that they can open the hatch and float gently to be reunited with their friend. And all this is happening at insane speeds, and they're having to make tiny, accurate adjustments through thrusting the craft left and right, all using, radars or sonars or whatever kind of sensors they had in the 1960s, and all this whilst being in the middle of the great infinite void, moments away from certain death if anything at all went wrong? Or does this look like 1960s early special effects, stop-start animation? Be honest, this is fiction. This is science fiction. So some people look at this and agree that the US faked the moon landings and that this was because of political reasons, the race with...
If you zoom in on this thing, especially up top, above it, it's so spaceship that they just shot off that he just showed, supposedly. This thing is a tin can fake. It's an absolute ridiculous, like a high schooler creating a cool thing in his garage type fake, level of fake. It's so fake. And it's done that way on purpose. Like Satan has to, because we're going to be held accountable. Like he has to show us the truth in plain sight. That's how God will hold us accountable. That's just how things work. And so the day of judgment's going to come and every mouth will be shut on how utterly stupid we were. Not just on this is a small thing compared to how our mouths will really be shut, but it's just a clear, like, man, how deceived we were for so long before we started realizing what the heck is going on, asking questions, seeking God, that this world is run by Satan. And in order to keep us accountable, it's purposefully made this stupid and this ridiculous. You zoom in on this. This thing is a joke. It's an absolute ridiculous joke.
And that this is indeed a misleading of the masses The masses get lied to about all sorts of things, and often we don't really understand who is behind it, let alone why it is happening, because we are not privy to all the information.
Because Satan works through our consent. That's how this works. It's through consent. You're giving him consent, and you become his little globe evangelist and historical evangelist and political evangelist.
Have a look at these clips from people up in the International Space Station, the ISS.
So they're claiming that all that is in the International Space Station, and then he shows how you can just fake that. Like an amateur can fake that.
Here goes famous astronaut Tim Peake.
And he falls here. Whoop. So
did it seem like something went wrong there?
They're on ropes.
It's almost as if he fell at the end, which wouldn't be possible in space, right? See? Boom.
Whoop.
Or he
and there's tons of guys dropping things, even dropping bolts and nuts, and you hear it land. They dropped it. It goes on forever.
Here, the one on the right, it's almost as if his foot gets stuck in something.
And they're grabbing something. Okay, let's get to the better stuff. That guy's foot gets stuck. Here's where you see the ropes holding them up.
I don't know what's going on here, Chris. Maybe you could explain to us like why you have these little bumps on your back.
Like that? Could it be that the astronauts are wearing harnesses to fake weightlessness? No, come on. Another clip from space. I mean, they really love to show off their backflips.
And then he grabs.
Wait,
see that?
What happened there? What's the man on the right holding on to? Let's watch that again.
This is never ending. He grabbed a rope that wasn't there, so he grabbed nothing. Wire removal. No wires. A kid just shows how he did it. The process breakdown. He shows how you can do that. There's tons of this type of stuff. This guy disappears.
How about that? Watch it again. You can see right through him. And here, this actress has just finished her interview. Watch what happens. The next guy gets faded in. He's not even in that room. He's not there. He's in a studio somewhere. There are several image layers superimposed.
It is a real honor to be able to touch base with the International Space Station.
Here's another one by the Chinese Space Agency. Another layer that gets faded in. Apparently, the Chinese also have transparency superpowers. And this one really shows you there are several layers. The actors are not in the same room there with this machinery. You see, during transmission, at one point, the image distorts, but only of the patch. It's only the actors and some other objects they
the
put
green
in front of the
screen
green
also?
screen somewhere in a studio that distorts. These guys are not in space, okay? Watch it again. A few patches distort, but everything else stays clear. Next, augmented reality. Interacting with virtual objects in 3D to give the illusion of objects floating in space. It's just funny that in this picture the fruit isn't floating.
So in this clip, they're talking live feed.
Oopsie daisy.
And what
we have a astronaut go by us in the background, obviously trying to give it a more realistic, spacey, station busy effect. The only problem is the camera that was supposed to mask this harness out, or the video feed, is not working. And so we see the guy come flying along.
You see the harness?
In a harness on his wires. Pretty amazing. But
So you see the harness right here? He's on a harness. It's fake.
that's not all that goes wrong here.
And guys, we can do this for hours and days.
Okay, so you see to the right, this guy's flipping this hat. This hat's actually on another video channel in 3D space. It's virtual reality. They're wearing augmented contact lenses so that they can interact with these 3D objects. Now, in this scene, the guy on the left in the green shirt, he thinks he sees an object in 3D space that's being broadcast to him. So he grabs it and he puts it off to the side. He's looking straight ahead because he's looking at an object rotating in front of him, but the video channel is down that is supposed to show the viewers what we're supposed to see. And so we don't actually get to see the object that he is seeing. And I would just sum this up as a very terrible, bad, horrible day for NASA doing live feeds.
Same with this. How do you know that this beach ball Earth is really in the room with him, especially as it glitches? And another beach ball Earth. The cartoon version of the supposed globe Earth really gets pushed upon us, doesn't it?
You see how that
It's
just
in every classroom
appeared?
in the world. Anyway, here it's obvious they can indeed play with video layers, as the actress physically holds an object that, a second ago, wasn't even in the same room as her. It just gets beamed in. This is a clip as part of so-called education for children. And all this really shows is you can't trust what
They're typical green screen CGI fails, like they're glitches in normal green screen type stuff. It happens when you have a green screen. It's normal, but it happens in space. There's so much on these different rooms that they're in, that they're shooting this from. It's all theater. There's so much evidence that all of this is green screened from Houston, and they're all actors. They're all Masons. All these astronauts, mostly, they're either Masons or tied to the Masons. They're all paid, hired actors, and they have hardcore non-disclosure agreements.
you're being shown without scrutiny. Another one, an older one, the actor is showing how he drinks his coffee in space. He made a little cup out of plastic, but then the coffee layer ends up outside of his cup.
It glitched. See the
And another
glitch?
one, he's singing and playing the guitar, but the microphone, again, it's a video patch, there are several layers, the microphone ends up inside his neck, stabbing his throat. When it's live, these kind of mistakes sometimes happen. And another editing mistake, do you remember the first video? He was going to brush his teeth, and at one point they fast forward the video while he's brushing, but they forgot to change the speed on that floating pouch of water in the background. It just keeps floating at the same speed.
You see how they moved it in 2x speed. They fast forwarded him brushing his teeth so it would get through it real quick. But this thing, nothing else gets fast forwarded. It's just him because he's not there. Notice how this other floaty thing is not fast forwarding to his left down here, over here.
He was going to brush his teeth, and at one point they fast forward the video while he's brushing, but they forgot to change the speed on that floating pouch of water in the background. It just keeps floating at the same speed. There's also falling objects when everything should be weightless. There are people falling. See, there are several techniques. Zero-G planes are also used to simulate space. What else? There's a fly on board the space station? Of course there is. There's even a fly in space, as in outer space, as it turns out. Then this one's a bit older, from the 80s or the 90s.
And that is not a model. I'm not a forensics expert, but I've seen more impressive models. You know, I've built more impressive models. And are those supposed to be like solar panels? Like I've never seen, they just look like white cardboard. This is obviously a model, right? If you can't see that, then you're suffering from space credulity. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at it. Just look. This is plastic. This is a plastic model. They didn't even try, right? Look at this. Like, look at the back. It's just like a cutout of tin. I can make this. I can do better. I can do better. No doubt about it. I think that's a Coke can.
I can't show everything I could find or will be here all day. Often people say, how can you say the Earth is flat? There is footage of the Earth taken from the ISS being broadcast live. Well...
Hey everybody, it's Sean Hilbert from Hill Productions. I was watching the ISS quote-unquote live, and check this out. Pay attention, right in this area. Whoop. I mean, for the love of God, if you guys still think this shit's real, just unfollow me.
And maybe you're still wondering.
It's never ending. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Apparently India went to the moon, guys. I didn't even know that.
Recently.
India has become the fourth nation to safely land a spacecraft on the moon, following the United States, Russia, and China, where few have gone before.
जी हाँ, आप अपनी स्क्रीन पे देख सकते हैं कि हम
India is also the first to land its Chandrayaan craft near the moon's south pole.
I mean, this is the footage in 2023. They are choosing to share with the world about their great technological achievement, which is, again, I'm sure going to make everyone's lives better. But what about the private companies now, like SpaceX, you know, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Richard Branson? Don't these billionaire business people go to space with their friends? It seems like great fun.
No, they don't.
First of all, SpaceX are in partnership with NASA. So that says enough. Look, they tell you that this here is real. We have liftoff.
Well, I think it looks so ridiculous and impossible. And you can tell it's real because it looks so fake, honestly. Like, we'd have way better CGI if it was fake.
Is that so? Elon Musk talking about faking stuff with CGI. Does this look real to you? I mean, all of this space stuff really is nonsense.
We can control in Mars.
Black hole in existence, sucking in $52 million of American taxpayer money every single day, just spent $2.3 billion of your dollars to allegedly land a remote control car on Mars for the 5th time. Yes, the multi-billion-dollar charade of landing on Mars has been happening since 1976, and thanks to the gullible, unquestioning masses enthralled and duped by these ridiculous Hollywood performances, they will most likely continue for decades to come. To begin with, the tiny reddish circular light in the sky known as Mars is not a spherical terra firma world millions of miles away, capable of landing a rover on.
That's what Mars
All of the so-called
looks like. That's what Mars looks like. This is never ending. It's never ending. It's never ending. Here's what the sun looks like. Let's look at
Good evening, everyone. What I'm going to be doing in today's video is showing you guys what the sun looks like up close with an ND5 foil solar filter, which allows us to be able to see through the
tons of zillions of people have done this, zooming in on what the sun actually looks like.
brightness of the sunlight to actually see the shape of the sun, its texture, what it looks like. And I'm going to show you 3 different views from 3 different days, and you're going to see that the sun always looks the same, always has these same little spots on it, which I'll get to here in a second. Let's get zoomed in. There we go. Now you see these little black, look like little black dots on the sun.
It always has them. Now the spots rotate around, which is interesting, but they're always in the same place in relation to each other, just like all the spots on the moon are. What the heck is that about? So interesting. It's not some giant ball of gas burning 93 million miles away. No way.
Now, to be honest with you, I don't know exactly what they are, but I know every time that I zoom in on it, they're in the same spot. Just like when you zoom in on the moon, all the craters are in the same spot that they've always been in. Every time I zoom in on this sun, these little spots are in the same place every time on different days, no matter which day that you zoom in on it with the solar filter. And the cool thing about the solar filter is most of the time you could use your P1000 or your P900 and you'll never be able to see what I just showed you without the solar filter because the sun is too bright. And this filter, it just filters out that brightness so you can actually, like I told you earlier, see the texture of the sun itself. Now, I'm not for sure if you can actually buy this filter for the Nikon P900. I just know that they have it for the P1000. So if you have a P900, you might want to kind of research that, maybe look it up and see if they have one. I'm sure they probably do, but I know they have one for the P1000 and it does a fabulous job, as you can see right here. Now you're getting ready to see those little black holes, those little black dots again, in the same place that you seen them when I showed you the first time. They're always there, which tells me that this is not a big ball of fire like they tell us that it is. That's a bunch of bull crap. You don't see a big ball of fire anywhere on this. It just looks like a big light with some little black dots, holes in it. Not to mention the fact that I shouldn't be able to zoom in on this at all with a camera. It's supposedly 93 million miles away. Think about that. 93 million miles away. Trust me, there is no camera in the world that can see 93 million miles away. But anyways, a little shaky there. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, now this is a total different day here. There was some humidity.
Isn't that
on this day? So
it's white.
I didn't actually get the orange look or the yellow look. It actually had a white look to it. But you can see those black dots or little black holes. They're in the same spot. When you zoom in on them, well, you see the atmospheric reaction kind of blurring there over them, but they look the same every time. I don't know what that is, but it's something. Now here you have NASA's computer generated images. Now look what they show you. They show you this big old ball of fire with looks like lava and fire shooting out of it, which is all cartoon.
You see this? BBC News. NASA captures incredible 4K images of the sun. This is actually what they're saying. The sun actually looks like it is fake CGI. Absolutely without question.
Images, CGI, people, looks nothing like what I just showed you in real time with a real camera, with a real solar filter. Looks nothing like this NASA cartoon bullcrap. They are lying to us. Yeah, you see that? You don't see nothing on that one when I zoom in on it. Just looks like a big light with some little specks on it, little holes on it. Looks nothing like this cartoon crap. I'm telling you, people, they're lying to us. The book of Enoch tells us that it's a luminary, not a ball of fire, as you can see here. And that which thus rises is the great luminary, and it is so named according to its appearance, according as the Lord commanded. As he rises, so he sets, and decreases not, and rests not, but runs day and night, and his light is sevenfold brighter than that of the moon. But as regards size, they are both equal. Everyone, thanks for watching, and God bless.
I haven't even covered half the stuff I want to cover. I have literally not even covered half of the stuff I want to cover. But I want to edit these and make them just boom, 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 boom. And so I can't make them so long. Maybe I'll do a few more videos because, guys, I've barely scratched the surface. Barely scratched the surface on this insane deception. And this insane deception barely scratches the surface of all the rest of the insane deceptions that we know nothing of. Our fake history being a biggie. Humble yourself and wake up. God bless you. You know, God has us in this time. And here's the clear message. This is what the Spirit says. Humble yourself like a child and allow the weight of all the circumstances in your life to break you under God's mighty hand. Be broken and humble like a child and seek out to him, and he will fill you with his Holy Spirit. And there's no point in living in this realm. Let me just tell you, there is no point in living your life in this realm except one thing, is to live for Jesus, to live for him. And God is going to do a work in our age. God's going to gather his that are humble and broken with no agenda other than to seek him, to come together, to love one another, to seek him and cry out to him together. He's going to bring a people together. And I think he's going to give us a camp. I think Jesus has given me a vision on it, that he's going to give us a camp where we can all come together, move to and live there, seek God together while Satan does his thing and gathers his armies. And God's going to give us a double portion of the Holy Spirit and give us such authority. But again, as far as any aspirations of great visions of grandeur that you think you have in this realm to live with your plans and your bright ideas, put them on the altar before God and cry out to him and seek to hear his voice, where you can actually fellowship with the Father and have intimacy with him. That's all that matters. And it's mostly We're in a time of breaking where we get broken and humble, where we learn to cover our mouth to keep our convictions between ourselves and God and just simply love people like a child with no agendas, no ambitions except one thing: to get filled with the Holy Spirit and to fellowship with him, to know him. This is what the Spirit says to all of us today. God bless you.